Chicago and the Philippines. A comprehensive review of the week's special community events, featuring many exciting personalities, handled by the most professional Chicago Philippine Reports TV staff.
$16,000 to $43,000. This is what the health department projects in terms of daily cases in the capital region by the end of September. Their projections are hinged on mobility, healthcare capacity, and the public's adherence to minimum health standards.
Kapag atin pong na-improve itong mga nakalagay na factors sa assumptions, we might not reach these numbers na sinasabi natin. Katulad nung nangyari dito sa NCR nung end of August, nagkaroon ng projection that we will reach about 80,000+ active cases by the end of August. Hopefully, with what we are doing right now with this pilot implementation, we will not reach this kind of projections.
Professor Guido David of the Octo Research Group, for his part, believes the daily cases will no longer reach the 30,000 mark.
Kumbaga sa bundok, umakit tayo ng bundok, nakalagpas na tayo sa part na talagang steep. Yung paakit natin. So ngayon, medyo parang walking na lang tayo, halos patag na. We're hoping, andyan na, malapit na, makikita na natin, ayan yung peak. Maglalagay tayo ng flag, tapos pababa na tayo. Parang gano'n.
The alert levels and granular lockdowns in the National Capital Region are based on healthcare capacity and the number of cases. But in a statement, Healthcare Professionals Alliance Against COVID-19 believes these figures do not reflect what's really happening on the ground. This is why they encourage the government to find solutions to the inadequacies in data reporting systems on which alert levels are based. These include data from emergency rooms or ERs that aren't part of data on ward bed and ICU utilization rates. The ER is the first place where patients with COVID-19 would usually go when they need urgent medical care. But health spokesperson Maria Rosario Vergeres says they have long taken note of data from ERs but are having difficulties in setting standards.
Pag tinignan po natin yung dati nilang capacity, hindi na po yan ang capacity nila. Meron na rin po tayo mga emergency room set up sa labas na naka-tent na lang po, may mga triage areas. At ito po ay atin pong pinag-aaralan maigi kung paano tayo makakapag-set ng standard metric so that we can be able to measure and analyze ito pong emergency room occupancy in all of our hospitals.
The DOH also flagged the inappropriate use of antigen tests by some local governments.
Some of the local governments use this for screening employees, screening those who are going to pictorials, screening those who are going to weddings. So hindi po yan appropriate use ng antigen test. Kaya hindi po natin pwedeng tanggapin because this might lead to inaccurate reports of positive cases.
Daily case reports released by the DOH do not include those testing positive for antigen tests. Vergeres explains in their latest run, out of the 10,000 positive tests submitted, only 3,000 were found to actually be valid.
Senators questioned how Formally Pharmaceutical Corporation was able to donate some 33 million pesos in goods to several government offices and hospitals when the amount accounts for 79% of the company's operating expenses.
Is that unusual that 78% of your operations goes to a donation?
79%, Mr. Chairman. Yes po, Mr. Chairman. Normally po nasa salaries po at rent expense ang malaking portion po ng operating expenses.
When Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon asked for the company's deeds of donation, formerly accountant Iluminada Cebial says she was only given a list of beneficiaries. Formally did not mention what supplies it donated to several government entities, but Cebial's list of recipients include 2 hospitals and 5 local government units in Luzon.
Meron pa po yata po sila, pero hindi po nila naisabit sa akin ng mga papel. Listahan lang po yung binigay po nila.
In a Facebook post November last year, the Quezon City government showed pictures of medical supplies donated by Formally. San Juan City Mayor Francis Zamora made a similar post about Formally's donations, also November last year. Formerly, officials could not immediately answer queries about their hefty donations, which prompted the Senate panel to subpoena the firm's financial documents and hire its own forensic auditor to check the company's compliance with the law. Senate Blue Ribbon Committee Chairman Richard Gordon also questioned how 3 formerly executives were able to acquire at least 4 luxury vehicles less than a year after their company bagged its first deal with the Department of Budget and Management's Procurement Service, or PSDBM.
Paano mo papaliwanag yan? December 7, 2020. From April na kumita kayo, from May and June kumita kayo, biglang may 13 million si Twinkle Dargani. Talagang nagpapasasa talaga itong mga taong ito.
Senator Risa Ontiveros also flagged how Formerly seems to have been accustomed to delivering millions of face masks to the PSDBM, even if the agency has yet to issue an official purchase order.
Sabi niyo sa kanya, sige, we'll email docs now. Also, are you aware na nag-deliver kami last week ng 2 million pieces? Ha. Ang sagot niya, wait, 2 million? Ha. Akala ko 900,000 lang stock nyo. Advance delivery ba ito? Sagot nyo naman, Miss Mago, yes, advance. Ha. Sabi nung ka-text nyo, yikes. Sino nag-utos? At ang sagot nyo, Miss Mago, ay ask ko muna sila boss. Di ko rin ako aware eh.
I do have to check the text messages po kasi this happened over a year ago, and with all that happened last year and this year, medyo hindi po siya fresh sa aking memory. So please allow me some time to confirm po.
Health Secretary Francisco Duque III appeared at the hearing. He was allowed by President Rodrigo Duterte to do so. Duterte defended the health department's decision to procure RT-PCR test kits from Formerly that were about to expire in 6 months, even if the official specs from the agency required kits with a 12 to 24-month shelf life.
The situation was really dire. The supply was scarce, if almost none, very few. Demand was really acute and overwhelming. And so it was very difficult to finally say that, ito lang yung presyo.
But Senator Francis Pangilinan argued that the PSDBM still priced the test kits based on its retail price, when the government could have gotten a huge discount since it was buying in bulk. With more questions than answers, the Senate panel decided to suspend the hearing and resume next week when Formerly's financial records and disclosures are submitted to the chamber.
Italy is set to become the first European country to make a COVID-19 Green Pass mandatory for all workers. It is a digital or paper certificate showing someone has received at least 1 vaccine dose, tested negative, or recently recovered from the disease. Officials told Reuters that the decree was expected to come into force on October 15 for both public and private sector workers. Any workers who fails to present a valid pass will be suspended on no pay, but cannot be sacked. People who ignore the decree and go to work without possessing the health certificate will face a fine of up to €1,000 or $1,175.
The Green Pass is an important tool to deal with this serious situation. In such a serious situation, we need effective solutions.
In my opinion, it is not fair because I'm a free citizen. I can decide whether or not to get a Green Pass. When there is an obligation, I no longer live in a democracy, but in a dictatorship. So I do not agree.
There have been sporadic protests in recent weeks against the growing pressure to get a jab. But most political parties in the country have backed mandatory COVID passes, hoping it will prevent further economic lockdowns. While the Employers' Federation also welcomed the move, unions have been lukewarm and are demanding that tests should be given freely to those who refuse to be vaccinated. Officials have pushed back on this, saying it would encourage people to keep on shunning vaccines. Around 74% of Italy's population have had at least 1 COVID-19 shot, and 68% are fully vaccinated. It's being dubbed superhuman immunity. New research shows some people may have a significantly higher level of immunity to COVID-19 that could even protect them from future pandemics. Scientists studied individuals who have recovered from the virus and then later received an mRNA vaccine such as Pfizer or Moderna. What they found was that protection against the disease and its variants was higher than immunity conferred by either infection alone or vaccine alone. Paul Benash is a virologist at the Rockefeller University. He prefers the term hybrid rather than superhuman immunity.
So this is a phenomenon that we and others have uncovered in people who were infected by SARS-CoV-2 early in the pandemic. And then some months later, when vaccines became available, they were vaccinated. Their antibodies were not only capable of neutralizing all of the SARS-CoV-2 variants that we have seen thus far, they're also capable of neutralizing viruses that are very much more diverse, including the original SARS coronavirus, which is really quite different to the current ones, viruses that are currently circulating in bats and pangolins.
Benash went on to urge caution, stressing that the research is new and needs more real-world testing. He said it did offer hope, though, for the people who had recovered from the disease and been vaccinated. His team is investigating whether a third booster shot has the same effect. So far, more than 226 million people around the world have been infected with COVID, and some 4.8 million people have died. The World Health Organization has said another flu pandemic is inevitable, that it is a matter of when, not if. Italy is set to become the first European country to make a COVID-19 Green Pass mandatory for all workers. It is a digital or paper certificate showing someone has received.
This is Cook County Treasurer Maria Pappas. Property taxes are due October 1st. Go to cookcountytreasure.com. Put in your street address to pay your taxes online. Search for $72 million in refunds. Look for $43 million in available tax exemptions. See if your property is on the tax sale list of delinquent taxes. Put in your address at cookcountytreasure.com.
This is the future. Forget what you know about currency, commerce, investment. The age of Bitcoin is upon us. And now anyone, anywhere can turn cash into crypto with a coin flip ATM. Booyah.
With low fees and 24/7 support, CoinFlip makes crypto so flippin' easy. Go to coinflip.tech to find an ATM near you.
Via Times, vital news, vibrant views for the Filipino Asian communities in Chicago. Via Times for your most interesting and exciting reading and your party coverages. Via Times has very interesting columnists. You name it, Via Times has it. Law, Filipino news, dentistry, immigration, humor, serious opinions, health, beauty, mysticism, Bata Corner, showbiz, and intelligently written editorials. Call Via Times at 773-866-0811.
Magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat and welcome to Veronica's segment of the show. Today, my very, very interesting guest is a very young Filipino-American. And yes, you're young. Thank you. And her name is Patty Buhay Lorenzo. And Patty is here today to talk about mental health. She works as, in the line of mental health. And she has been working as a clinical professional counselor. And Kathy, not Kathy, I'm sorry, Patty, I'm sorry about that. Patty is here today to talk about issues on mental health. And first thing, my question is, Patty, what does a clinical counselor do?
Well, primarily, we like to call it, of course, psychotherapy. Psychotherapy can be done by clinical professional counselors such as ourselves, and sometimes psychiatrists and psychologists. So psychologists and counselors have different licenses, but we pretty much do the same thing. So I just wanted to clarify that. I'm not a doctor. A lot of people say Dr. Lorenzo, but I'm not a doctor. I wish I was. But yeah, I just wanted to clarify that.
And you have been in this field for how many years now, Patty?
About 10 years since graduating from my master's program in 2011.
And where do you work now? Who are you associated with?
I'm on my own. I've had my private practice since last year, since getting my license. So I'm self-employed right now. I work on my own.
Great. Entrepreneur too, huh? Wow.
Right. I realized I was an entrepreneur as well as soon as I went on my own. So accidental.
Yeah, nice to know that. I salute you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
And you've had experiences working with adults and adolescents and some kids, Filipinos and Americans, correct?
Yes. Both here and the Philippines. The US and the Philippines.
And everything that's associated with mental health.
Yes.
Okay. With that, have you noticed or have you experienced a surge in mental health issues since the beginning of COVID?
Yes, Tita. I was sometimes I feel guilty because I know last year was a very difficult year for many other professions. Unfortunately, and fortunately, in my profession, there was a surge in need for mental health services last year, especially through telehealth. So it's both a good and a bad thing.
So can you talk to us about, well, I know generally speaking, you deal with any kinds of age brackets, right?
Yeah.
With what you do.
Yes.
And how about ethnic groups? Do you have more Filipino American clientele?
I am seeing not a surge, but I'm seeing more and more inquiries. I'm getting more inquiries from both probably first generation Filipino Americans as well as the immigrant group demographic. So from different ages.
Okay, but is there a large number of the ethnic Asian versus the American group with what you're doing?
Not a lot. While I think there's more awareness now about mental health, and people are a little more open about talking about it. I feel like there's still a hesitation from I don't know about other Asian American communities, particularly the Filipino community, where it's both a good and bad thing because we're so good at being there for each other. Families are it's always like families come first, and families are your first source of support. So we don't really reach out to professionals because sometimes it just doesn't occur to us that we can. So that's one of my advocacies, is to actually encourage Filipino Americans to seek therapy, not because there's something wrong with you, but because it's extra support. And I think it's always helpful to have a third party looking at certain issues that that can be fixed.
Knowing our culture as an ethnic immigrant here also, as Filipinos back home, we are not really open as individuals and as groups to mental health issues. Do you know that? Or you're aware of that, I'm sure.
Yes, I kind of know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So how are you relating when it comes to the issues about parents and children relational issues? Here, the first, I can talk about the first and second generations too of Filipino Americans.
Yeah.
How are you relating to that?
It's very interesting because when they first inquire, I find it very common with especially first generation Filipino Americans. They always say, we're so glad we found you because you're Filipino. We don't need to explain anything because our culture, I think, is very distinct. Of course, because I have a Filipino bias, me being an immigrant myself. Our culture is very distinct in that when we communicate as a community of Filipinos, there's a certain way we speak. There's a certain way we respond to each other that I think other cultures don't really get. So when you see a therapist that isn't Filipino, it's very difficult to explain a lot of things. One of the very big issues I think is for the youth to be able to talk to their parents about certain very sensitive issues, such as depression. Why are you depressed? You should be thankful. We brought you to this country to have a better life. You should be thankful. And while the kids are very grateful, it's a totally separate thing to have a mental health issue. And to be honest, sometimes it's clumped together because we have, as Filipinos that grew up in the Philippines, we have our own set of coping skills, coping mechanisms, which totally changes when we move here. And it's very difficult to kind of bridge that gap between how the youth, Filipino American youth, thinks and how their immigrant parents think. And both sides, I don't know if I'm explaining it correctly, but both sides are correct, but it's very difficult to kind of blend both thoughts together. So that's one of the biggest issues, I think, is younger people being able to express how they feel to their parents without hurting their feelings. So that's one of the things we talk about in therapy, being able to communicate.
Do you apply?
Go ahead.
So you apply a mixture of psychology, being familiar with our culture back home and culture here. So do you adjust and apply the thinking of both parents, thinking parents and versus the children, or even maybe spouses?
Yes, absolutely. It's funny because I do a lot of self-disclosure, being an immigrant myself and having my own Filipino American children. My children and I have a lot of conversations about it. We share a lot of, our differing thoughts. And thankfully, my kids are so fabulous at understanding where I'm coming from as well. So we have very good communication. So it's something that I like to share with the younger generation, experiences as a parent and adjustment between the way we grew up in the Philippines and then having to adjust to the culture here. And it's an adjustment on both sides. So that's something that I like to bring up in sessions, of course. And oftentimes the younger generation is very open as well to learning more about our culture. I don't think that's a conversation that many parents have with their kids, talking about their cultures, because we're all so busy with our work. A lot of us work two jobs sometimes. Many of us work to still support the kids. It could be so many reasons. why. There could be so many reasons why we're not able to sit down and have those conversations.
That is really quite a challenging situation for you, I'm sure, instead of just
Sometimes, but I love the conversations. So it's challenging but enjoyable as well.
enjoyable as well, for sure. Okay, you, because you also have had experiences working with children in the Philippines, when the country of the Philippines itself, right?
Yes.
And now that you're here in America, so what advice as a counselor can you give to a particular ethnic group like our group, which is the Filipino American community group?
I think it's, basically just staying open. I think being open to having those conversations, especially when they're difficult. There are certain concepts that are very difficult for us as immigrant parents to kind of grasp. Our youth is so much more open about a lot of social issues, injustice, there's gender issues, relationship issues are, there's so many things to explore for them. Their world is so much bigger than ours. So sometimes there are certain concepts that we are not used to, that we're not very comfortable with. So it's very important to stay open and to just listen to what our kids are saying. And I would say the same thing to the kids as well. Stay open to your parents, because we're adjusting as well. We're just getting used to these new things coming up with a new generation. So just having that conversation with each other is very important. Over dinner, eating Filipino food, of course.
Great, terrific. Okay, are you planning to get a doctorate degree in what you're doing?
Well, it is a dream of mine, so I hope I do. I'm not opposed to it. I'm 52 years old, but they say age is just a number. So hopefully,
Very young professional. Patty, how do you get your clientele?
Through Psychology Today. I have a profile on Psychology Today, and most clients find me there.
Oh, Psychology Today.
Yes, it's a website where it's actually a magazine that publishes a lot of articles about mental health, psychology, things like that. But they also have a website where a lot of us have profiles on, so you can find us there.
Terrific. Okay, Patty, I thank you for gracing our show today.
And thank you so much for having me, Tita.
And I wish you good luck with your profession. And I would like to see you one of these days where I could really call you Dr. Patty Lorenzo.
Oh my goodness. I hope that's Dilang Angel, Tita. So
meron ako niyan.
oh my goodness. Sana nga po.
Right. Great, terrific. I really enjoy talking to you today and giving us some highlights about what's going on in our generation of Filipino Americans about mental health issues. Knowing that we have really cultural issues with regard to this matter. Right. Okay, Patty, maraming salamat.
Salamat po, Tita.
At maraming salamat po sa inyong panonood. Ako po si Veronica. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye, Patty.
Bye, Tita.
Dadan!
Yan! Dito na! Perfect!
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat and welcome to Veronica's segment of the show. Today, I have a very interesting, very young, very beautiful guest today. And I was expecting I was going to be talking to some kind of a mature guest, but she's very young. And her name is Lisa Wilson from Florida. And Lisa will be talking to us today about a very exciting topic, a very, current topic that all of us are very interested to know because it's about COVID. The way Lisa, you work in Hollywood set?
Yes. So Epitome Risk, which is my company that I'm the CEO of, we handle COVID compliance and dynamic risk for TV and film and professional sports.
Okay. So from the Hollywood set, you were able to find the silver bullet for COVID protection.
Yeah. So my business,
testing, that's in testing. All right. Okay, can you please tell our viewing audience about this COVID protection testing that, this really makes everybody from the White House to ordinary citizens be interested about? Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. So my business partners and I started Fourth Wall Testing, which is a lab that handles COVID testing, active virus testing. But we also offer a brand new test. It's a quick little finger prick test that you can do at home and send back to our lab that measures your body's response to the vaccine or a previous infection.
Lisa, with what you're doing, I would think that you're a scientist.
I have been very.
You have discovered, or the things that you have found from the Hollywood set.
We've been very fortunate. I've partnered with some incredible scientists. We've partnered with Cprtv biotech company. And also my business partners are immunologists. So we've been very fortunate to be surrounded by some very smart people in science. We have been able to use this Cprtv test called CPAS, which is FDA emergency use authorized, which is a very big deal. And we've taken that test to be a finger prick. So it measures your neutralizing antibodies. So the very specific antibodies that attach to the spike protein of the virus and stop it from binding to your cells.
Oh, that's really, you really have to really explain to people how to do it, or to those, scientists themselves, how you're doing it.
Yes, absolutely. So what's really fascinating, we've been doing this research since November of last year for people that were exposed to COVID and had it, and then after post-vaccination. So it's very interesting to see, a couple of months ago, 36% of our clients that were fully vaccinated tested negative for neutralizing antibodies, which means they would be at risk for contracting the virus. I'm really pleased to announce that 2 nights ago, we got updated data. And now that booster shots are out, that number has reduced to about 18% of fully vaccinated people testing negative. So the trend is going in a very good direction now that we have booster shots, but there's still so much more that needs to be done.
Wow. Really, this is really amazing the more you talk about it. And you are really actually, in layman's language, talking about how to protect, in this testing, people will be protected from COVID, actually, besides vaccination?
So it measures your body's level of defense against contracting COVID, whether or not you were vaccinated or had a previous infection. So for me, I was vaccinated in March. I got the Johnson & Johnson shot. My level of inhibition, which means my defense, is a 95%, which is very, very high. So I have this peace of mind and this confidence being out in the world that, is worth millions of dollars for me to be out and about and just have that peace of mind.
Well, you started testing from the Hollywood set. Is that how it was?
So we do active virus testing. We also do neutralizing antibody testing for specific individuals. We do it for executives. We do it for the talent on productions. We also do it for people who travel a lot. Many of our clients are traveling a lot again, and they just want to know and have that peace of mind when they get on the airplane or go into a foreign country that they're doing okay, that they are, traveling safely.
So what's happening is that with this kind of test, is any particular person would know, or an individual would know if they're going to have COVID in this testing?
So this doesn't test if you have COVID currently. This would test if you maybe had it before, or if you're at risk of contracting it post-vaccination. So we have seen that with a vaccine, people's response is much stronger than from having COVID. So we have seen a correlation there that the vaccinated people do have a stronger neutralizing antibody response that lasts longer than having the infection. When someone has COVID, their neutralizing antibody levels last for about 3 to 5 months, and we're seeing much longer when they've been vaccinated.
Well, I know that some people who's got COVID have antibodies right away in their, in their bodies.
Yeah, so it typically takes a couple of weeks for your antibody levels to go up. Our test measures a very specific kind of antibody, so it's not when you're exposed to COVID or the vaccine, your body creates all different kinds of antibodies that are COVID specific to attach to different parts of the virus in hopes that it will protect itself. Our test only measures the very specific antibodies that attach to the spike protein that prevent it from attaching to your cell. So it's very specific, but those neutralizing antibodies take a couple of weeks to build up into your system post-vaccination or post-infection.
How about the vaccination?
Yeah.
Do you still think, besides this silver bullet that we're talking about, that you have founded, do you still think that the vaccination will be needed for everyone?
Our research is showing that vaccines provide a stronger level of protection for longer. Our research is also finding that booster shots will be necessary for most individuals. It just depends on when your body needs them. So we have some people that tested negative for neutralizing antibodies 4 or 5 months post-vaccination. That's not normal. That's not the majority of people, but there are those individuals. We have others like myself that I'm going into my 7th month, very, very strong response. I don't need a booster right now. So it's very important that we're not looking at a calendar to tell us when we need a booster shot, and more along the lines of listening to our body, checking under the hood, looking at what our specific immune system is telling us we need.
Well, if the booster is being mandated, would you say that just like in the situation, your individual situation, would you send the government who's mandating everyone's vaccination and booster shots in the future? How can you always tell them that I don't need it based on your findings?
Well, everyone has to, consult with their doctor on it. I did receive my vaccine, and, the booster shot is now they're saying that it will be available at 8 months post-vaccination for everyone to take it. I do believe that it is up to everyone's physician and whatever works for their systems.
In spite of the mandates?
I really can't speak to the mandates. Those things change every day anyway. So it's very difficult to speak to those mandates.
Great, terrific. All right, Lisa, some advice or tips that you can give to our viewing audience regarding with this topic that we're talking about, COVID protection testing.
Sure, absolutely. Consult with your doctor. Always check with your doctor to see what would be the best option for you with your vaccine status. Also, check in with yourself. Take this test either through our company, Epitome Risk. You can find out more information at epitomerisk.com. Or you can look at genscript.com and get more information about CPAS in general. And, really take a moment to advocate for yourself. That is the most important message of this whole thing, is to be a self-advocate for your own health.
Hey, terrific. All right, Lisa. Thank you so much. Thank you for hosting our show. And you've heard that from the horse's mouth. All right. So another aspect of how to protect yourself against COVID. This is the COVID protection testing. All right,
Yes.
Lisa, I salute you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
And thank you for gracing our show. Maraming salamat. Thank you very much for gracing our show today. And I wish you good luck to all your undertakings.
Thank you for having me.
We would like to welcome all of you to Baladna Jewelry. We have a very big selection of 21 karat gold jewelry imported from the Middle East, from Dubai, Saudi, and Bahrain. And we have a very big selection of diamond. We offer free financing for 6 months, and we have a layaway system which you can leave your stuff for 3 months. We repair gold and we buy old gold. Welcome to Baladna Jewelry.
Salamat po.
Good afternoon. This is Bridget Carino-Cutter bringing you this week's local news from our community. Cook County's Department of Emergency Management and Regional Security is partnering with government agencies, nonprofits, and private sector organizations to ensure residents have the information they need to stay safe in an emergency. As part of National Preparedness Month, EMRS is hosting its 6th Preparedness Fair today at Daly Plaza, where residents will receive safety information from all participating agencies. Cook County Health will administer Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer COVID-19 vaccines at the fair. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine is available to anyone 18 and older. The Pfizer vaccine is approved for individuals 12 and older. Minors must be accompanied by a parent or guardian. Neither citizenship status nor insurance are required to get the shot. The Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity joined business leaders in Rockford to celebrate National Support Latino Business Day and encouraged residents to support Latino and Hispanic businesses throughout the state during this year's Hispanic Heritage Month, which begins tomorrow. Festivities include an official proclamation from Governor Pritzker recognizing the inaugural Support Latino Business Day during the grand opening of the Rockford Regional Hispanic Chamber. For this year's Hispanic Heritage Month, DCEO is teaming up with industry organizations, chambers of commerce, civic groups, and small business owners to host a series of events focused on honoring the Latino business legacy, supporting the recovery from COVID-19, and connecting new and existing business owners with state resources to help them grow and thrive. Illinois is the first state to recognize National Support Latino Business Day, a time for Illinoisans in every community across the state to recognize Latino-owned businesses and their contributions to the state's economy, said Governor J.B. Pritzker. The Cook County Assessor's Office was recognized with the Public Information Award for its program titled Communication During a Global Pandemic. The prestigious award was given by the International Association of Assessing Officers on September 1st during their annual conference that took place in the city of Chicago. The IAAO is an international agency that sets the industry standard in the field of property assessment. Since taking office in 2018, Assessor Fritz Kagi has utilized the IAAO to assist with comprehensive planning and to develop solutions that improve critical functions of the office. The communications team was tasked with teaching the public how to conduct business with the office in an entirely different way at the height of the pandemic, said Assessor Kagi. Over the last 20 years, Illinoisans have seen a 65% increase in residential property taxes, giving the state one of the nation's highest tax burdens. The state of Illinois has the 6th highest property tax in the nation, and that number is climbing due to the large number of underfunded pensions the state and local governments have. Adam Schuster of the Illinois Policy Institute said pension fund bills at the local level are growing as well. On top of the $144 billion in pension debt at the state level, our local governments hold another $75 billion in pension debt, he said. The pension problem, Schuster said, is no longer a state problem, as it is starting to change the way local governments operate. Fewer people are aware of the local pension problem in Illinois, Schuster said. It is every bit as bad and a major source of financial stress for local governments. Illinois Secretary of State Jesse White is reminding vehicle owners to report license plates to the Secretary of State's office that are peeling, chipping, or rusting in order to receive replacement plates at no charge. Vehicle owners whose license plates are damaged or degraded can notify the Secretary of State's office by calling 1-800-252-8980 or visiting https://apps.ilsos.gov/defective plate. A registration identification number and PIN found on the vehicle's registration card are required to report the degraded license plates, which will then be replaced at no cost to the vehicle owner or the state of Illinois. There are nearly 9 million passenger vehicle owners in Illinois, said White. When the license plates are unreadable, it poses a safety concern for the vehicle owner, other drivers, and law enforcement. Owners are encouraged to recycle their old plates by taking them to a Secretary of State facility and disposing of them in the tamper-proof bin. Cook County Treasurer Maria Pappas will conduct the first sale in more than 2 years of delinquent Cook County property taxes on November 5, 2021. About $163.4 million in unpaid 2018 property taxes that were to be paid in 2019 is due on 36,000 homes, businesses, and land. Less than $1,000 is owed on the 11,744 properties in Chicago and 7,700 properties in suburban Cook County. Pappas is sending owners of those properties a certified mailing informing them that their unpaid taxes are scheduled to be sold, which would put a lien against their properties. It is the first step in a process that can end with the loss of a property. Owners can avoid the tax sale by paying the delinquent taxes and interest before the sale begins. To see if your taxes are delinquent and to make a payment, visit cookcountytreasurer.com and select Avoid the Tax Sale. You can search by address or by property index number or PIN. About 75% of taxes offered for sale are for properties in majority Black and Latino communities, Papa said. That's why Black and Latino houses matter. My program is to help homeowners find refunds and apply for tax exemptions. It's so important. That's all for today. Thank you for watching our news this week. This is Bridget. See you next time.
Yan! Dito na! Perfect!
Hi, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Melody Dizon, your Health Matters host. And today we do have a guest. Her name is none other than Ashley Dizon. She's my youngest daughter. And just wanted to get her thoughts or what are the things that's been happening in her school. It's been approximately a month, I would say, back to school, correct?
6 weeks, yeah.
6 weeks, okay. So tell me, what's the atmosphere like? Everybody wears masks. Tell us about that.
Yeah, everybody wears masks. Actually, like all of the teachers and all of the hall monitors are like really, really on top of like you have to have it over your nose. Like if they see anybody like walking with it, like even right here, they'll like yell at you. And so it's like it's really, really taken super seriously.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody is like reported with like symptoms, like you can report if you're somebody like coughing or
Right.
sneezing a lot. If they find out somebody has symptoms, what they do is they evacuate the classroom and they completely sanitize it down. They we have class outside or something. And if somebody does have symptoms, they stay home obviously. And like a good alternative is they can Zoom into class.
Okay.
Since they can't be there in person.
Mm-hmm.
So there actually also is a website on our school website that shows us like how many COVID cases there've been, how many symptoms, just like more like at ease for like the parents, just so that they know.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a good way to keep track too. They take like hall passes and like signing out of classrooms really seriously, just so they can do contact tracing about like who was where, if this person had symptoms.
That's right.
Just so hopefully they can trace it back. You can't mingle with other students like in a classroom anymore. Like you have to stay in your seat. You just stay on like these red dots. It's really, really strict, which of course like I understand. It's necessary. I kind of like miss how it was before. I mean, of course everybody misses how it was before. But yeah. Oh, homecoming. Like a lot of the school events now are outdoors, so that people can have their masks off and can still all be like, in an area. That way we still follow COVID guidelines and hopefully no one gets sick. But yeah, everything besides that is pretty normal.
Yeah. So, what is the percentage right now of people contracting the virus in school? What is your percentage with unvaccinated students? Is there any?
Yeah, no, there's definitely some because it's not a requirement. I don't know the percentage specifically, but I know like at least most of the students. I can give you like an exact like ballpark. And maybe like 10-20% aren't vaccinated.
Okay.
Maybe, but most students are vaccinated just because it's very highly encouraged. And also like I know a lot of parents are against it, but like I think a lot of parents knowing that they're going to send their kids to like school and like a very like
close proximity
area, they let their kids get the vaccine. So yeah, like a lot of the students are vaccinated, which is like really like nice to know.
Yeah, that's true. For the people that are not vaccinated, do you know what their thought process is?
I mean, I can't say for sure. Some people, understandably, some people are saying like, oh, it was made very fast. There wasn't enough testing done, which I can understand. But at the same time, at least my point of view is it was the best doctors in the world. Like all of them came together. It wasn't just one at a time. And yes, maybe there weren't as many like tests done on this specific medicine as there was in the past for other medicines. But given the circumstances, I think it's still like a good choice to get.
It's better. That's right. So is this much better than what do you call that? Zoom? The zooming in, or how it was before? You had what do you call that term? That you can either go in and some days.
Hybrid.
Hybrid. That's right.
Of course, I liked Zoom learning just because I could stay in bed the whole time. I didn't have to like change my pajama if I was at home. I could sleep in if I wanted to like miss a class. I just say I had bad Wi-Fi. But I never learned anything. Like I couldn't tell you anything from my junior year. At least now, like being in school, I'm really like learning. Of course, it's like it became really overwhelming the first couple weeks just because it went from every other class a day to all of your classes every single day, a lot of homework, tests in person. We're gonna have finals again. It was a really, really big shift, I'd say, and it was really hard for a lot of students to adjust. Like me, I'm still adjusting.
Right.
So educationally, in person is definitely better.
Sure.
But yeah, I guess I prefer in person. That way, I actually know what I'm.
Sure. So what were the expectations then from last year? So if you're saying, not much of the curriculum was probably covered.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of, just understandably what was going on. It's still addressed as it was a year, right? That everybody went to school.
No, it still accounted. What they did was, some schools have it now. What's the B? Sorry. A lot of schools have it now where they have block schedules. So there's A days and B days. Where like A days you have the first half of your classes, like your first 4 periods, and then B days you have your second 4 periods. And so my school, we actually do every class every day, but during COVID we did A and B. So what that like unfortunately did was classes could only do half of the curriculum, or if they had to do the entire thing, like my AP psychology class, the College Board didn't let us cut the course in half because it's like also important. So it was like constant teaching, lecturing every single day.
Oh wow.
It was kind of difficult, but some other classes like you like definitely missed a lot of units, you missed a lot of this just because there wasn't enough time to cover everything. So that as well made classes now a little bit more difficult, especially like my math class because it builds off of what I did last year, but I only did half of what I was supposed to.
Correct.
So some of the stuff I'm learning now I'm supposed to have already known, and in order to keep up with the class, I'm supposed to know it, but they didn't teach it. But they didn't do much to accommodate to that, I think.
I see. That's true. So what can you say, as we welcome more of the many more months of school, how could you encourage people around your age just to kind of, hunker down with, learning is always learning, but health is also important. So any words of advice or encouragement for teens like you?
I mean, the main thing I struggled with was like adjusting to like how it was and how it is now. And I think communication like with your teachers and with like the school staff is really important because surprisingly, like they're really, really understanding because I mean they're going through the same thing similarly as well.
Sure.
So they can understand. They're seeing like grades drop, kind of. I think communication with your teachers and time management is really, really important to be able to stay on top of it. Yeah, because it's really different. So
that's good. All right. So tell me again what school you go to and what year.
I go to Schaumburg High School and I'm a senior.
Woohoo! Okay. Well, thank you so much, Ashley Dizon, for giving us this time. You've given us some insights and sort of like a bird's eye view of what really happens inside the classroom. Thank you again for your time, Ashley. Goodbye.
This is Cook County Treasurer Maria Pappas. Property taxes are due October 1st. Go to cookcountytreasure.com. Put in your street address to pay your taxes online, search for $72 million in refunds, look for $43 million in available tax exemptions. See if your property is on the tax sale list of delinquent taxes. Put in your address at cookcountytreasure.com.